Basement Politics with Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, on episode 6, Underqualified. We'll talk about the city council meeting that happened today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you're tuning in, share this podcast. I want a lot of people to kind of see what I've been doing here if they haven't already. If you have friends that you think might be interested, I would greatly appreciate that if you can give me a share on your page. Well, thank you. Good evening. For those who are watching the podcast, I appreciate you watching, tuning in, and supporting. I'm Freddy Vazquez. Tonight, I will be discussing the meeting that took place, the city council meeting regarding the building commissioner and the recent firing of Vincent Peachy, is it? Jr., the building commissioner. Actually, he didn't fire. They believe he resigned, but I don't think he was given much of a choice. There are many different reasons why. Well, I guess two reasons people are speculating. Apparently, the delays, as many know, the building department is, it's a mess. Let's just say that it's a mess. I've had dealings with them myself personally, and I can tell you from my experience how hard it is, how horrible it is, it's crazy, it's ridiculous, and apparently it's all Vincent Peachy's fault. Is it? I don't know. That's up to you guys to decide, but we'll discuss a little about the meeting. I'll show you a couple clips there from the meeting tonight. I'll let you hear what the city council president had to say, as well as Councilman John Rubo and the deputy commissioner as well, and Shanae Williams, Councilwoman Shanae Williams. I may put her stuff on, but here's the scoop. Here is the scoop. So recently, the commissioner was resigned, and it was a short term. He wasn't there that long, but apparently there were delays in the approving of permits, and he was the reason for his delay. According to Mr. Peachy, he was sick for 3 months, and he couldn't, I guess, get into work to put the stamp on these permits. And I don't know. I would love to speak to the gentleman. I'm actually trying to make contact with him. So if let him know. I'm looking forward to, or I would like to invite him on the show. politicswithfred@gmail.com or politikwithfred@gmail.com. One is with the S or without. I would love to speak with him and actually ask him what did he have COVID? We coming from a pandemic. I mean, being sick for 3 months, in these days is not something that's unheard of. Maybe pre-pandemic, I'd be like 3 months. What are you doing for 3 months? But, COVID. So I'd like to definitely talk to him about that. But apparently he was holding up the permits. But there's speculations that the pressure was coming from the developers, specifically Lionsgate. Lionsgate was putting pressure, and they want to get to phase 2. They're moving into phase 2, which recently was in the news, and in regards also to the tax abatements that they're receiving, $7.8 million from the YIDA, and they put pressure, and the mayor, felt the pressure, went to the building department and said, hey, what's going on here? And you're not doing what needs to get done, so you're out of here. So now they put in a gentleman by the name of Sam Borelli as acting commissioner of the building department. However, there's an issue there. Mr. Borelli is not a licensed engineer or architect. And now the debate is on. Should the building department, or the city of Yonkers, I should say, require that the commissioner of the building department be a licensed professional, licensed engineer, or a licensed architect? According to the deputy commissioner, they have plan examiners who review plans, and they are licensed, and that should be good enough. All right. And the issue is not with whether or not that the person who's in charge of the building department, the commissioner, is licensed or not, but more so with the management of the building department. So they need to hire more someone with skills more in management and overseeing some a department like the building department. However, City Council President Mike Cater felt that the person who will be in that position should be licensed. And so I want to show you that here in a bit, and then we'll get to some of the comments because I see they're coming in hot. Let's take a look.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Deputy Mayor. Thanks for being here. I certainly agree, and I think my colleagues on the council will agree that there are problems in the building department. You know, it doesn't matter if it's an apartment on Park Hill or a home in Beach Hill, if it's a one-family home or a tenant in a high-rise apartment. Everyone walks out of the building department frustrated and angry, and we've all received chain emails, numerous emails, you know, about the issue with the building department. For the last 4 years, most of us on the council, whenever the building commissioner, we've had 3 building commissioners and a deputy commissioner, building commissioner, that been here and are no longer here. Just, I think within the last few months, we voted in the deputy commissioner, and he's since retired. The last building commissioner was here probably for the longest tenure for this current council, I think approximately 3 years. There was one before that I think was less than a year. And then I think I came in with the building, I think he was here maybe for a year or less. We have a law that's for a reason. By changing a law for expediency or changing a law for convenience sets up a bad precedent. What I would like to see are more studies. I remember a couple of years ago, you know, timeline phases between COVID, there was a resolution for a blue ribbon panel of outside experts, the engineers, the architects, the tradespeople, to come in and give suggestions. That didn't go anywhere. Not only am I opposed to changing a local law for convenience, I would like to see more hard, independent data to see how else we can fix the building department. Because I hate to be the negative one here, but amending this law for a non-engineer is not going to solve the problem, nor will it address the problem. There are systemic problems in the building department. And that's why I'm opposed to it. If I felt truly that amending the law will solve the problem, I'll be the biggest cheerleader for it. This is not triage. This is not Band-Aid. This potentially exposes liability to the city and doesn't solve anything. For that reason,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. Again, let me read the comment. Peachy was executing the long overdue updates. Finally, he probably said F this with the politics behind the scenes. And again, like I said, that many people say the mayor runs the show. And if he wants a permit approved, the permit is going to get approved. So if permits weren't being approved, was it because Peachy wasn't doing his job or he did not want to approve the permits for some reason or another? And there was a kind of a, you know, a battle there that we don't know. So that's PEs and RAs, licensed registered professionals, engineers, and architects, are bound by law to protect the health, safety, and wellness of occupants. And if you heard the deputy commissioner, and I totally agree with that. I agree that there's somewhat should be definitely licensed. But if you heard the deputy commissioner, he did mention that the plan examiners who review the plans are licensed engineers or architects. So is that okay? Is that sufficient? So does the commissioner necessarily have to have a licensed, to do this, to do the job? Mike Cater is 100% correct. Yeah, a lot of people have said they believe that he's 100% correct. What I do agree is that it can open up the city to potential liabilities. I mean, we saw what happened in the city. I'm sorry, in Miami with the collapse of the building, and even the city, actually. The city of New York City, the council was voted on or will be voting on legislation that will require either the commissioner or the deputy commissioner be a licensed architect or engineer. And this is because they've seen many tragedies in collapsing buildings, or faulty construction work, faulty engineer designed, or stuff like that. So it's very important. But again, they mentioned the planning examiner. Is that sufficient? Let's look into who is the realtor that sold Lionsgate their property. Oh, okay. Do you have that information readily available? Because I'd love to see it in the comment right now. I'm sure others would as well. I don't know, but we can look into it. And yes, there's also issues with that, as well as who was it that Lionsgate hired to help them with the YIDA and the $7.8 million tax abatements that they will be receiving. Should a company like Lionsgate receive the tax abatement? And I get it. We want to incentivize businesses or developers to come in to beautify and bring jobs, right? That's why you give them the YIDA benefits, so they can come and provide jobs to locals in the area that the IDA serves. So why do they need it? Do we need to incentivize them with $7.8 million in tax abatements when this is a maybe $1 billion? And yes, it has shareholders, but they still have the money. Doesn't mean they have any less money, right? So do they need the money necessarily? And also, if they're not going to generate or stimulate, more in the economy in terms of how much revenue they bring, than what they're getting in tax abatements, it makes no sense, because according to an article I read, they're going to generate $6.8 million. So it's a $10 million deficit, I guess. So we're in the hole. But really, do they need to have these benefits? And are they also providing local jobs, jobs to local laborers, I should say? As many may know, I've had the guys from Teamsters 456 on, and they were upset because they were not getting any work on these developments, not even being allowed to the table to negotiate, yet they were receiving these benefits. Take the school superintendents that wouldn't let the city control the school's budget. Lies were told and 2 superintendents were fired. Next up is one with sexual harassment charges against him. Guess what? Now the mayor controls the school budget. Well, and that's a story for another day. But definitely, yes, there's a lot going on that we will be discussing. And at some point, maybe that might be the topic. What are the 7 new positions and what are these 3-day co-certifications about? Right. So the the deputy commissioners announced that they had approved 7 new openings within the building department. I would imagine that they are going to be positions that are going to help facilitate the processing of permits. So he mentioned something about remodeling, or which, by the way, he mentioned that they remodeled the 4th floor, and that's great. But before you go out and threaten to condemn someone's building and shut their business down that provides local jobs, or jobs to local residents and services to local families, you should look at your own building. And if you've remodeled the 4th floor, great. You still got a lot more to do. But anyway, so they apparently remodeled the 4th floor, where they're going to have a new processing area, and possibly these 7 positions will be to operate on that floor to help expedite. It's an intake, as he said his words, intake area and they will work to process these applications quickly. So that's what I would imagine, because they have, according to the deputy commissioner, the planning examiners who are licensed guys. All they need now is a commissioner, and they're trying to amend the law so they can just get someone in there that's not, and possibly keep Mr. Borelli in there. And then they'll hire 7 more people to work on the 4th floor. Building department is on 6th and 7th floor, it's a file room, and on the 4th floor where they can do an intake and take, I guess, these applications and then process them quickly. Is this just a bunch of talk? Are they going to actually move things along? Please share this so others in Yonkers are aware. Yes, thank you, Carolyn. Please share so others are aware and others are informed, so when they vote, they make the best choice. If the current system can't handle us now, what growth can we really expect? Well, that I don't know, but that's their plan. That's of action. And I'm going to play something here, another clip from the meeting, and hear the deputy commissioner, what he has to say in response to the city council president's, comments regarding his opinion regarding the amendment of the changing of the law.
Did you have some more comments?
Actually, I'm sorry, that's Mr. Rubo there. I will play him in a bit, but I want to play Mr. Deputy Commissioner's
response first, and hopefully I'll get it here. Yep, here we go.
I just went through that we do have a professional staff. In any type of organization, when you have a professional staff who basically tells the commissioner everything is okay, plans, specs, and that's what it does. And I think it really comes down to how you operate a department. So maybe you need someone who can manage what comes in, the 25 to 30 permits that come in every day. Also, who to deal with the developers that come into the city of Yonkers on a more personal basis to help more friendlier. And I think that's what you need in this department. You need somebody who's, and it could also be an engineer or a registered architect also, but someone who is a little friendlier and welcomes the people coming into the city of Yonkers. But the professional staff remains the same. The plan examiners, the registered architects, the licensed engineers, you have them. And they're the ones who review the plans to make sure that they're code compliant and also zone compliant. And they just advised the commissioner.
Through the chair, if I may, and I certainly don't want to pepper back and forth. So we hear the term managers, and it looks like everyone has a title, not just in the building department. You got, entry level, then senior, and then, assistant senior. Everyone has a title in the departments. Yes, you need managers, but I believe there are enough managers there. I would like to see some independent study saying this will work. And if you need a high-level manager, create the position. But why change the law when, we could look each other straight face and say, it's not going to solve the problem? That's all I just want to say. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for showing up today.
You're welcome, Council President.
And so you heard the deputy commissioner say that they have plan examiners that are licensed guys, they're licensed and registered, and they're the ones that review the plans and advise the commissioner. So then what's the issue? Why are they taking so long? Are they not reviewing these plans fast enough? Are they busy reviewing just the developers' plans? Because it's to me, I find it interesting that developers doing these complex developments from the ground up can move so quickly, and you can have a residential home or a small business take just as long, if not longer, than these developments to just get a permit. By the time they'll get a permit, the development's already up and open and have been rented out. And that doesn't make sense. Their permits are a bit more complex, more involved. They have health and environmental studies and surveys to conduct and permits to get approved for. So it's fascinating to me that these guys can move so much quicker than someone who has a residential home and who's doing a small project in a kitchen, a bathroom, or just changing of tenant or a certificate of occupancy. I don't understand that. What are these ideas about legalizing illegal basements in slumlord conditions. Yeah, so what Catherine Hahn is talking about there is something that was mentioned by the incoming City Council President Lakeisha Collins Bellamy about working with those who have illegal apartments in their properties to convert them to legal apartments. And I think the idea is to help, these property owners facilitate this in a smoother, easier, more efficient process, so that way they can make it legal and safer, and that way it can open up more availability in the housing stock. However, some people believe that can be very dangerous, may not, these places may not even be suitable to be done correctly, or that, that they also will increase the density of the population, which we have an issue with already. Some may have seen my videos of all the traffic that, we have to contend with every day here in Yonkers, on Yonkers Avenue, Ashburton, everywhere you go in Cork County. It's ridiculous. Central Avenue. So, and so that's another, issue that's been brought up. I don't know how much they're really going to, focus on that. I know that was just an idea presented by the City Council President, or the incoming, I should say, City Council President, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy. But yeah, we're going back to, the building department issue here. What do you think? Is it enough that they have the planning examiners licensed and registered, or should the commissioner be licensed and registered as well? Question mark. The deputy commissioner, is he licensed and registered? I want to play what John Rubel had to say, because I liked what he had to say. If he's meaning what he's saying, somewhat positive news there, I think. So I want to play that. I don't want to just all seem negative all the time, because some people say that's what I am all the time. Negative. I'm not. Positive too.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Deputy Mayor, who's currently signing off on building permits?
Acting Commissioner Sambrelli.
Okay. Is there any reason or need to have the city engineer, Paul Summerfield, do that, or the city's comfortable with having Deputy Commissioner or Acting Commissioner Borelli sign off on them?
You can rest assured that the professional people that are there, the registered architects, the licensed engineers, are looking at the plans.
Right.
They review the plans. They also advise the commissioner on certain stuff. So they are the professionals of the building department. So there's really gray area why the acting
Borelli,
commissioner could not sign off on it. He's going on the advice of what the professionals are giving him.
Okay, and do you find that now, excuse me, that there's been a little bit of change over the last week and a half, that you're starting to catch up on some of the files that were lagging? And what's your expectation to when we can become within, a 2 or 3 week window of having the plan submitted to being approved or responded with comments?
Yeah, the plans are either approved, approval, comments, disapproved. We have worked very hard, even before the other commissioner left, to hire these 4 part-time professional engineers and registered architects to help us get through this what's going through out there on the small plans. So most of those plans are reviewed within 30 days. You get an answer in 30 days on that. Some of the larger ones that we're working with the full-time employees, takes a little longer. They're the larger plans. They're the Lion Gates of the world. They're the Extels of the world. It takes a little long to review those plans. And so we're working towards getting out as fast as we can. Is there a backlog? Yeah, there's a backlog. One of the things that, and I work very closely with the acting commissioner Sambrelli, we go there and we see what's really not happening, and we make it happen. And so you'll see a difference. It's going to take a little time. We also expect the people who work in the building and housing to step up to the plate, whether it's the professional engineer, registered architect, whether it's a building inspector who has to go out there and inspect more frequently to get info back into the office. And it's the clerks themselves who do all the typing and pass everything through. So we're working towards that. We're also looking at, if you've been over to that building, right now we're on the 5th floor and 6th floor. They redid the 4th floor. And that's going to be our new intake area. We're planning on opening that up so it's a much friendlier atmosphere than the 5th floor. And so we're hoping to open that up, and so we can start taking the intake down there on the 4th floor. So that's kind of where we're heading. I think you will see a change. It'll take some time, but you will see a change.
So this was prior to Acting Commissioner Borelli, and maybe even before you were Deputy Commissioner. But for the longest time, the building department has been closed. Commissioner PC encouraged people to make appointments where most other departments were open. Is the building department open again full-time for the public?
We are opening the building department up, yes. We spoke about that the other day. Everybody blamed the COVID-19 to what they did as far as, and maybe that was the right thing to do. I don't know. But we're looking at opening up the building department and opening up the 4th floor for intake.
Well, I commend you for that. And what about some of these smaller projects? Earlier, I mentioned redoing your kitchen or your bathroom or shingles on your roof or your windows, where you're submitting a permit and it's taking time to get approved, or before it took time. I know you're working on that. But what about having an engineer or an architect in the private sector who's drawing up these plans? In some municipalities, even in New York City, there's some level of self-certification. The building department would still go out and do inspections, but the plans would be submitted, the fees would be collected, the permits would eventually be issued, it'd be in the system. And you'd have to schedule inspections, of course, but at least the homeowner or the contractor can get started on some of these much smaller projects. Let's say, you set it as a monetary value of anything less than 50,000 or 30,000, whatever that number may be.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds great. And everything that was said there sounded great. Did you catch that? What Councilman Rubio said there? He goes, the problems that we're having, before, but now you're fixing them. As if these problems were not in existence way before Mr. PC ever took the job as the commissioner. I know for a fact myself that I had a client about 3, almost 4 years ago who, had to get permits after a fire, and they were, they were displaced from their home, and it took 2.5 years. And we're talking 3 and 4 years ago. And the building department has been talked about in the most horrible ways since I can ever remember about the building department or hearing about it. But I like that, they're saying things like, maybe, how about smaller jobs? If they're doing a kitchen, bathroom, and that's great. It sounds great. But my thing is that just words, or these are just comments being made to make it seem like, hey, we're looking to make some real positive change here and make things happen. And I want to appeal to the average residential homeowner, because those are the folks who are doing the kitchens and the bathrooms. And I want them to really believe in this and what we're doing here. But don't be fooled, because this is nothing new. The homeowner who's had the whatever kitchen or whatever still have had problems. He did mention something about the fees and how because of PC that the fees went up, particularly about the signage for small businesses who have to put signs up. And it was under PC's watch that the fees all went up. And it's also was his idea, or because of COVID, but his idea to extend the system of making an appointment to go to the building department. And let me tell you, I don't know if you've been to the building department, but it's not the best experience. I was recently there and I was treated like crap. I was there a few times in this past year, and I've been treated like crap. Both times talked very down to, as if I was no one, as if I didn't belong there, and as I wasn't welcome. What are you doing? Do you have an appointment? Well, who's your appointment with? I mean, like, hello, imagine someone who's not the best with English, new to whatever. They just bought a home. They want to do some work on it. They're not very welcoming. They're not very helpful. They don't want to be bothered. They obviously don't want to be bothered. So it's like the president, the city council president mentioned just changing or amending this law to hire someone who's not as qualified is not going to improve anything if you don't look at the entire system. It's a systemic problem. It's a systemic problem. And as a business owner, I like to take responsibility for everything, regardless if it was not directly my fault. Because ultimately, I created that system within that business, and I must be responsible for every piece and every moving component, every gyro in that system. And I must make sure that it's operating. And if something fails, I can fire someone, but ultimately, I should have seen that coming, possibly maybe fire them earlier, fire them late, because I don't like to fire people. I don't, but I have to sometimes. So at the end of the day, who's responsible for this operating this system moving quickly? And if we saw that these things were not moving along faster, the complaints have been, there for a long time now. Something should have been done. Something that should have been done. And now it seems like maybe PC is being thrown under the bus. And I would love to get him on the show. We have to hear your side, PC, Mr. PC. We must hear your side, and you must come on Base in Politics, because this is the only place you're going to get it fair and balanced. Oh, do I sound like someone? Unbiased. Let's go to some of the comments because they're coming in. Architects are not trained to design plumbing, HVAC systems, or structures. No, but they do include them in their plans, and they have to know something about it. But no, yeah. Declan, they sub out for large complex projects. Otherwise, architects are trained in mechanical, electric. Yeah, I was going to say, because they must include them in plans. That's a part of it. You have to include everything: your plumbing, your plans. You have to get and John Rubel also mentioned something, or even deputy, about getting one permit for everything. Because as it is now, you have to have an electrician go in there and do his thing. He has to file for permit. A plumber also files for a permit. Then you have the GC go in there, file for permit. You got to bring all that together, submit it, and hopefully they're all on the same page. You have to make sure your architect's on the same page, and that they're all looking at the plans and they're all getting it right. And if you mess up, they're not going to tell you how you messed up. They're just going to deny you. They're going to write a bunch of different things. If it's like my case, they're going to change from letter to letter. They're going to require one thing 1 minute, not require it the next minute. And it's crazy. And in your head, be left spinning as you walk out of there, and you're not sure what just happened. And I've had building inspectors and fire marshal guys, roll up on me, surrounded me. This is true story. The cameras, I have security cameras, and my staff, the girls that work, the ladies, I'm sorry, that work with me, were concerned. They thought some guys were going to beat me up or something. These guys were surrounding me not too long ago. And, they threatened me every which way. They threatened to shut me down, fine me, they threatened to get a judge to give them a warrant. Yeah, a warrant to enter the property. I don't know why. I'm not selling drugs, or I don't have anything there that's illegal. No, it was in there. I'm actually was trying to get things done to make sure that we can remedy whatever the issues are, which really are not much. So, they come in like bullies. They come in very hard and aggressive, and I need to be more helpful. So this is a systemic issue, a systemic problem. It's not just one person at the building department. It's every single person at the building department. Okay, they came in very strong. They must have realized I knew a little bit of something, because they changed their attitudes very quickly. One guy was like, no, hold up, I didn't come here for that. The two firemen didn't know the answer to the one question. They both answered at the same time, but with different answers. One said yes, one said no. So, if they don't know, how are they going to be able to help you? How are they going to be able to help you? And they always refer you back to your architect, which, yes, architects should know, codes and stuff. But again, they change, and they also vary from city to city. So they have to be more helpful in there. And I hope that what the deputy commissioner there was saying about the 4th floor and getting some people in there, the intake room, and he said friendlier. He said they're going to be a lot friendlier on the 4th floor. Did you hear that? He knows. He knows that they're not friendly there. And it's funny because I actually, when I was there the last time, I asked them with any of them at the window they like to come on my show, Basement Politics of Freddy Vazquez. Anyone? No one answered. So I said, okay. But and I left. And then one guy rolled his eyes. But then one lady chased me down. And she said, Freddy, were you talking to me? I said, no, not you. She said, okay, was it me? I said, no, I know. That was funny. And I took a bunch of pictures of things that needed to be worked on in the building department. I have those photos up on the page. It didn't seem very healthy and up to code to me. So I don't know if that was just talk again. Are they, just saying things that people may want to hear so people can go along with it? Are we still going to have these problems? I believe that a lot of the holdups and a lot of the reasons why these permits are so slow in getting approved, or why they lack the ability to be more helpful or more attentive, is because they're concerned with their money makers. The money makers. Take a look at 14 Courtney Place. I was told that a pizzeria owner from the Bronx owned the property and couldn't get permits, so he sold it. And not only did they get permits, they changed the zoning. Also, the driveway is no longer on Courtney; it's on Wakefield Avenue. I would assume that means. You hear that, folks? For you sleuths out there. Councilman Rubo seems to be trivializing the issue that the building department has had for years, not just under the last guy. Absolutely. He's making it seem like everything is just Mr. PC's fault. It's no big deal. We're going to get this thing going. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner, for getting a handle on it. And I'm very sure that you're going to fix the problems. And once we amend this thing, we're going to get someone in there or keep Mr. Borelli in there. And he's going to change everything. But again, from what I hear, Mr. Borelli, who worked at the DPW at one point, also had a problem there. Apparently, and you have to, verify this, but allegedly he was suspended for a week without pay for some kind of fraud. So if he's committing fraud at the DPW, will that be the case on permits? Hopefully we don't get fraudulent permits out there. That's just what's being alleged. I called the housing department because they hit a spring, and the inspector asked me if I knew who was in charge of the project. I said no, and he said Michael Calvi. I said the mayor's cousin-in-law, and he said yes. Oh, so Maria Calvi's cousin or something. I said, so what does that have to do with fixing the sidewalks with the river flowing down because they hit a spring? I also got the Hyatt Association involved. They told me they were fighting it for years and were successful while Dennis Shepard was there. Things changed with Rubo. Guess who is the realtor? Is the last name John Balaj? The neighbors were complaining about Courtney Place because they could not get their own permits approved. Money talks in this city. Money talks. Absolutely. I stand corrected. I'm used to having mechanical engineers. Hey, I love a guy who can stand corrected. I'll stand corrected if I'm ever wrong, and great for you. Hey, Freddy, what's going on? Daniel, my guy Daniel. Sounds like bottlenecking and cherry picking. There are white architects who've told me that the building department employees were prejudiced, and I will agree with that. I have to say, I don't like to throw out that race card. I don't. I think sometimes it's overplayed. Hey, hate me if you believe, hate me if you want, but I believe that. But I have to say that I did feel that way. I was with one of my employees who's African American. We were there and we were talked down to. I mean, I even said it's a matter of racism. I feel like, and there was another lady that said no. I said yeah, and I can tell because another person came and was trying to be extra nice to me. Obviously, they felt like they did something wrong there. Anyway, the white architects who told me that the building department employees were prejudiced, saying things like the blacks will never get that, and this architect never came back. I believe that. My architect, or the one I used for my business, actually is Brazilian. She speaks Portuguese. She does have an accent, and she was been disrespected. And even the guy who called me and said, "Who's the woman, with the funny accent, or where she could barely talk, or whatever?" That's what he said to me. She could barely. I can't understand what the woman's saying. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, he was kind of rude, and he said it worse things, but I didn't like what he was saying. I just thought it was, you know what I mean? Scapegoating. The definition of a scapegoat is someone who is assigned the blame or made to take the fall for something. That's what a scapegoat is. Absolutely. Well, will we see changes in the building department? Will the law be amended? Right now, it was put on hold. They're going to review it some more and then go and pick back up at a later time. I don't know. But what does that mean for the city residents? Those seeking permits, small business owners like myself who have been battling out for a year now, 12 months for a simple change of certificate of occupancy or change of tenant. And by the way, I have on video also a gentleman at the building department, the Hispanic guy that rolled his eyes at me, stating
that if you put on your application that you're not doing any changes, any work or anything, that they do not like that. What did he mean by that? If I'm not doing any work because they're requiring that I provide a contractor's lien waiver, a contractor certificate of insurance, a contractor's liability or workers' comp, and all these other things that I'm not doing any work. I simply moved in. I brought in furniture. My wife put up beautiful pictures, decorated very nicely. People love it. The kids love it. Parents are waiting for us to get full blown and going. And the thing is, we charge less than what other daycares will charge, and we provide so much more. And they are preventing our families from getting this. Why? Why? So what does this mean for the city residents and small business owners like myself? And why would they not like the fact that I'm not doing work on there? My architect was told to include stuff on the plans as if work was being done, even though no work was being done. She was told that by the inspector or an examiner. Why? Is it about the money? Why don't they like it when you do not put that work is not being done? That's what the guy said. They don't like when you put that. He said it in a whispering voice as if it was some secret. So I don't know. A lot of changes need to happen in the building department. I hope that we can actually see some true changes, but people are simply saying we're just seeing a shuffling of positions, a shuffling of people, a moving around of positions, and that's about it. Nothing will change. It'll still be slow as ever, and I'll still be waiting for my permit. But by the way, I must tell you guys, we are opening up a second location, and it's not in Yonkers. So F you. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics. Until next time, my people. Yonkers, I love you. Always.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez.